He been talking to the police. He's been talking. He wants everyone to go to jail.
In the year of 2020, paperwork was revealed which showed rapper 50 Cent as being a confidential informant for the US government. This has long been a matter of speculation put forth by people such as record producer Irv Gotti, who has made claims that he believes 50 Cent gave information on him over to the FBI, which bankrupted his company and removed him from direct competition with 50 Cent. In this video, we're going to take a look into the information out there of 50 Cent working with the feds and the paperwork which was released revealing it. 50 Cent, real name Curtis Jackson, is a rapper from New York who was signed by Eminem and rose to fame during the 2000s. There has long been allegations of him being a snitch, with some coming as recently as 2022. Former co-owner of The Source, Ben Zeno, during a recent 2022 podcast, labelled 50 Cent as the first hip-hop rat. Speaking of the allegations of 50 Cent being a snitch during the 2000s, Ben Zeno said, quote, "Back then you had to take a pen and a piece of paper and write down that motherfucker and sign it, and that's what he did." End quote. He went on to speak on the allegations that 50 Cent snitched on former record promoter Jimmy Henchman, who was a notorious figure and convicted drug trafficker from New York. 50 Cent's friend Lodi Mack allegedly beat up Jimmy Henchman's 14-year-old son in New York, with the man being found dead shortly after. Henchman was charged and convicted for the murder after prosecutors argued that he hired people to kill Lodi Mack. A document titled Report of Investigation from the United States Department of Justice DEA office began making rounds in 2009. The documents claimed 50 Cent made phone calls to the police advising them to look into Jimmy Henchman and claimed 50 Cent would cooperate with their investigation. 50 Cent denied the claims and it started going around that the documents were fake. In January of 2020, New York artist French Montana went to Instagram to release court documents which revealed 50 Cent as being a confidential informant for the US government. The document from the year 2000 was from an incident on March 24, 2000, where 50 Cent was stabbed outside a recording studio, with the paperwork claiming that following the incident, 50 Cent became a confidential informant for the US government. The incident occurred as a result of beef between 50 Cent and Murder Inc. artist Ja Rule. The CEOs of Murder Inc., Irv Gotti and Chris Gotti, were charged for assaulting 50 Cent, but the charges were later dismissed. The documents French Montana leaked claim that this incident turned 50 Cent into a confidential informant, where he started to give information over to the feds about other rappers. 50 Cent was shot 9 times on May 24, 2000, just 2 months after being stabbed, with law enforcement documents released in 2005 claiming drug kingpin Kenneth Supreme McGriff was behind it with ties to Murder Inc. An affidavit from Francis Mace, a special agent assigned to the US Treasury Department, went on to disclose that law enforcement officials believe that the shooting in 2000 was in retaliation for 50 Cent's song Ghetto Quran, where he dry snitched and told a hell of a lot of people's business who was in New York on the record. The song detailed the history of the Supreme team being Kenneth McGriff's gang. The special agent claimed the 2000 attempt on 50's life was orchestrated through paged conversations with Murder Inc. employees. The paperwork which French Montana revealed claimed 50 Cent had become an informant for the US government 2 months before the shooting took place, being after the stabbing incident, which led into claims being made by Irv Gotti. Irv Gotti, during a Vlad TV interview, and many others, believed that 50 Cent worked with the US government through being a confidential informant to give over information which the FBI built a case on, which ultimately bankrupted Irv Gotti, closing his record label.
I think the police and the feds came, and I think he told them a great story of Irv Gotti and Kenneth Supreme McGriff. And I think he's been telling them stories.
Back in the early 2000s, Irv Gotti, Suge Knight, and Jay Prince each put up $30 million to unionize record labels and go into competition for a distribution company against the Big Four and their subsidiaries. The Big Four are Warner Music Group, EMI, Universal, and Sony. They control and own 85% of the music industry. 50 Cent was signed by Eminem, who was under Dr. Dre's label Aftermath, with all of them having beef with both Suge Knight and Irv Gotti. After Irv Gotti, Suge Knight and Jay Prince discussed a new music venture, which would give them a control over the narrative and a lot of power. Cases were almost simultaneously built on them, which brought them to financial ruin. Irv Gotti has claimed that he believes 50 Cent may have given information over in his case as part of being a confidential informant. The US intelligence community are a group of separate US agencies who work together on operations and cases by combining and sharing their research to take down what are considered as threats to national security. The LAPD were used against Suge Knight, who raided his home along with his offices in 2002, landing him back in jail in 2003. The DEA were used on Jay Prince, who he found out through a private investigator sent a man with intent to kill him. The FBI were used against Irv Gotti, and a very short while after Suge Knight's offices were raided, Irv Gotti's Manhattan offices for Murder Inc. were also raided, including other places. Irv Gotti and his brother Chris were charged with money laundering and faced over 20 years in prison for financial transactions to Kenneth Supreme McGriff for the production of a movie. Murder Inc. went from a record-breaking company worth between 250 to 500 million to losing all its artists and being bankrupted as US intelligence and the justice system dragged Irv Gotti through legal cases to bring a cease to his operation and collapse his company. Irv Gotti was unable to do any business dealings as all financial transactions were considered as being labelled as co-defendant, so he could no longer partake in commerce or business. On December 2nd, 2005, after bringing his company to financial ruin, he and his brother were acquitted of all charges. Irv Gotti believes that officials approached 50 Cent after the shooting in 2000, after the paperwork showed he was already a confidential informant, and Gotti believes he may have cooked up fabricated stories about Murder Inc. and Supreme to help the FBI build a case.
As the prosecution presented its case, they seemed obsessed with having the attempted murder of 50 Cent allowed into evidence. After 2 days of tense deliberations and sidebars, Judge Edward Corman ruled the jury would not hear about the shooting or how it tied into the charges of money laundering against Irv and Chris.
While Murder Inc. was getting shut down by the feds from 2003 to 2005, 50 Cent started his rise to fame and became the new most popular artist when it was previously artists on Murder Inc. This has made people, including Irv Gotti himself, to believe that 50 Cent was a confidential informant who cooperated with the US intelligence community to help them bring down Irv Gotti, which also eliminated 50 Cent's competition. All of this is speculation by Irv Gotti in interviews, other than the paperwork which listed 50 Cent as a confidential informant. In this video, we took a look at paperwork revealed in 2020, which claimed 50 Cent became a confidential informant for the US government in the year of 2000. Irv Gotti believes he may have been a confidential informant for the FBI in helping bankrupting Irv Gotti's company and bringing an end to a distribution venture which he was about to start. Let me know what your thoughts are on all this in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell button so you can get all the future notifications for when I upload. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.